Hello, how are you today? Lisa R. Gray coming to you. And I am a mother and a counselor. I'm also a minister. And I'm a mother who found out that my daughter had been sexually molested. And since that time, we've written a book. The book is called They Don't Tell, Child Abuse from a Mother's Perspective. And we're out here really just to encourage and to educate, to enlighten people regarding the topic of CSA. We found out that it was such a topic that is so taboo, even though a lot of victims are now starting to talk about it. Couldn't find anything from a mother's perspective and where I was and what I was looking for. So I ended up writing a book, and the book is called, again, it's called They Don't Tell, Child Abuse from a Mother's Perspective. We've got a Facebook page. The Facebook page is also called They Don't Tell. And our website is just lisargray.com. And on that website, you can reach me. You can find out more about our ministry. You can find out some topics that may very well be of interest to you. I wanted to come on today and talk about something that's not talked about a lot, especially regarding the topic of CSA. And it's really a paradox that is not talked about, because what I want to talk to you about is sex. Having the discussion with your child about sex. In my book, I called it the must-have discussion. If there's been child sexual abuse, it is so necessary to talk to your child about sex. And in my book, I talk about it's a topic that you want to discuss sooner rather than later. And the reason that you want to have that discussion as soon as possible is because you don't know what's going on in your child's mind, how they're feeling about that now you know about it. Now that you know that this is what's taking place, you don't know if they're feeling dirty, if they're feeling guilty. Have that discussion with your child about sex in age appropriate terms, depending on what age your child was. I'm going to read something in my book that I wrote. And again, the chapter is called The Must Have Discussion. And I wrote in there that this is a discussion that will be more difficult for some of you rather than others. Yet it's a conversation that you must have. And you must have it sooner rather than later. The sooner you talk about this with your daughter, in my case, the sooner she can begin to mentally process what happened. And the mental process is absolutely necessary. You have to go through what took place. And as the child begins to go through what took place, they can also begin the healing process. But when you have this discussion that's never taken place about what took place, what happened, how they were touched, whatever it happened to be, because we know that there's not always touch with child sexual abuse. Maybe they were exposed to pornography. Whatever it was, you want to have the discussion with your daughter, in my case, maybe son in your case. You want to have that discussion because many times they start to feel guilty about how their body may have reacted. I've even had some of the victims say to me, my body betrayed me. So in their mind, many times the child is thinking, well, my body reacted, so that must meant that I wanted it to happen. And we have to let our children know that just because your body had a response, an automated response, especially if we're talking about abuse that occurred over and over again, that has nothing to do with them. That is an automated response. And if we fail to have that discussion with our children, we don't know what's going on in their mind. The majority of the time, they're thinking that they had something to do with it, that they were a party to what took place with them. And we know that that's not the case. Again, for me, my daughter was a teenager when she disclosed what had happened to her since she was 7 or 8 years old. So by the time that I discovered it, by the time she told me, she was 15. She was busty, petite, and cute as a button. And she had some physical ailments that she struggled with. So she already had some anxiety that she was dealing with. And she disclosed her story to me at night. And I'm saying to you that the very next day when she came home from school, we were in the garage. It was just the two of us. And we could talk in private because you want to have this discussion in a private area. And I reiterated to her again, Nikki, this is not your fault. You bear no responsibility. This is 100% his fault. Abuse is the adult shortcoming. It's what the adult has done to you. And she gave me a look that said, sure, Mom, whatever you say. You really don't know the whole story. And again, that's why I'm stressing to you that have this discussion with your child. Even if you didn't have it with them at that time, have it with them now and let them know. And I said to her, Nikki, and I had her look straight at me, eye to eye, the fact that your body had a physical response to the repetition of an act is completely and naturally normal. What happened to you was normal. Well, how your body responded was normal. That's simply the way God made us. And that has nothing to do with the 40-year-old plus man sexually molesting an innocent little girl, which is what you were. You're getting confused with how you are now and how you were back when he was starting to groom you for the abuse. You are not to blame. That was the discussion that I had with my daughter. Again, she was 15. He had been molesting her since she was in the 3rd grade. So now her body had a reaction, but she was getting that confused with the fact that maybe she was a party to this, and the answer is still unequivocally no. So I'm saying to you, have the discussion with your child. Let them know that you know that there was sex that took place. That's why it's called child sexual abuse. And just because their body had a natural, normal response does not mean that they're a party to it. And again, we're talking about children. We're talking about adolescents. They get confused, and we don't know what their violator has been telling them. So we have to have the discussion. We have to talk about sex. Sex is not a dirty word. Let them know that you're not ashamed. And even if you say, well, no, I may not be exactly comfortable, we may talk about it a little bit now, talk about it a little bit later. You want them to feel free to come to you and talk about it because it's child sexual abuse. There was sex. Something occurred. Have that discussion with your child. Don't be ashamed. They will be so grateful. And even if it's something that they let you know after the fact, but we still have to have the discussion. Remember, hold your head up high. You have nothing to be ashamed of. We're talking about someone who has been grooming this child. And because that took place, we want you to let them know that they have nothing to be ashamed of, that just because that happened to them does not mean that they're used goods. So many people get so confused and they get it mixed up in their mind and they're being told things that are not true. You are not used goods. You have nothing to be guilty of. There is no shame. This is something that occurred to you just as anything else. Look at it any way you need to. Just as if a cold had happened. Because someone had a cold, does that mean that it's their fault? It's not. We have to discuss the fact that sex occurred. We're going to talk about what happened to them. We're going to talk about the way their body responded. And again, we're going to let them know that they are not a party to this. They have no guilt. There's nothing wrong with them. They can go on with their life. They can survive. They can thrive. But we're going to be there to support them. And that's what's more important than anything else, that they know that they're supported and that they're believed. You can make all the difference in your child's future. And that's what we're just concerned with. What's their future going to be like? How are they going to respond to this? Well, they're looking to you for cues. So give them the right cues. Let them know that, yes, I believe you. Yes, I support you. And yes, it's been very difficult, but we're going to get through this together. And you are going to be okay. Again, I just want to say thank you to all of you who are contacting me. So much support. It's just been amazing the way that you've contacted me. I am going to start interviewing some of you in the real future. That's something for you to look forward to. We will begin some interviews. Some people I want to share their stories. And if you're one of those people, feel free to contact me. You can reach me at my website, lisargray.com. You can also reach me on Facebook, and it's called They Don't Tell, Child Abuse from a Mother's Perspective. Thank you so much. Have a good day.